Hi guys, welcome to 3000 Thieves TV. We're here with Rob, Creative Director of Zest Coffee. Why Creative Director and what does that actually entail?
It's a good question because a creative director is usually within the arts and entertainment industry. I think that now we're in a stage in the movement of coffee where we can really say that coffee is an art form, and that includes having a really large creative element to the design of flavour profiles, to the design of brewing parameters, extraction, roasting, all of the things that contribute to a great experience in the cup.
So did you just fall into that role, or?
Yeah, well,
what have you done previously?
My education was, I was a Victorian College of the Arts student who studied the jazz vibraphone, which is quite probably a more obscure instrument to study for some people.
So explain to me the transition from vibraphone to coffee.
As all musicians do, I moved to Berlin in 2012.
Yep.
And I was working and studying with a really great professor, but I also needed a part-time job. And having come from Melbourne, like a lot of the expats in Berlin at the time, that's where I got a job being a barista at the Barn, which is a
awesome.
well-known cafe, and I got to work with a couple of really great roasters, especially Tim Weatherlow and James Hoffman.
Yeah, amazing.
Square Mile. So I got a really fantastic introduction to the specialty coffee movement in Europe.
So you went in clean, you didn't have any experience in coffee, it was just the Melbourne factor?
It was the Melbourne factor. I had an artistic, let's say, vocabulary, so we went into a cupping session, and I was able to understand the concept of describing flavours and body and length, and I still to this day think about coffee in a lot of musical terms. So I use the same kind of approach to melody and rhythm and harmony as I do think about coffee's balance, its high notes, its low notes.
Do you think music has any kind of relation in terms of inspiration to your coffee and your?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a range which I've developed with Roy, my great colleague, called the Espresso series, which is 4 blends.
Yep.
The Espresso series is already a bit of an analogy to what a cello player is to a cellist. Like you play the cello, so you become a cellist. You play the espresso, so you become an espresso. So it's drawing a parallel between the artistic creation of coffee, and the blends are all named after famous pieces of music from countries of origins.
So in the 3000 subscription, we're getting the Kenta mic a lot. Is there any musical inspiration behind that?
In terms of the name, no, because Kent is a small village in the highlands of PNG. With our microlots, we're really looking at preserving the unique characteristics of whatever happens at origin. We're looking for something that is really individual, and our goal is to make it as characteristic of what happens at origin, of the varietal, of the altitude, and of the process.
Yeah. I
could describe it in musical terms, both incredibly sweet and incredibly floral coffees, and the Kenta is a beautiful example of that. We have notes of peach, especially like that part of the peach when you get to the pip, and it becomes a bit more pungent, a little bit. It has an element of bitterness. It's not all sweet and light and floral, and we've got boysenberry, raspberry, and also more of a fermented fruit like a raisin and a currant. So it's a really beautiful, balanced expression of Papua New Guinea coffee.
Can't wait. So this gadget over here, what is it? Please explain.
Okay. It comes from the wine industry. It's a wine aerator. We used it just to cool the coffee down a little bit. It may open up some flavors. I'm not going to go out there and say it does do anything, but it's quite.
If you don't try it, you'll never know.
That's right.
So who do you think is killing it right now? You can go big, or you can stay within Melbourne. It's up to you. But who's inspiring you?
I would say every time I go to Market Lane and also deal with Melbourne coffee merchants and coffee with Hannah, it's a really amazing experience. They are sourcing really wonderful micro lots. They are presenting coffee in a really unique fashion, and I have a great time every time I go. There is also, of course, Proud Marys and Seven Seeds, and the guys at Patricia's are serving an amazing coffee experience.
So, as a creative director, where do you think the line is for science over what it tastes like? Do you think we can go too far with technology? Do you think, like, if I'm using a automatic, pneumatic tamp and an automatic dosing grinder, and all I do is lock the handle in and press go on an espresso machine, do you think, like, where do you see the line?
I think that those things sound great to me. I think consistency is one of the biggest problems in coffee, and the more variables you can reduce, the better coffee experience you can.
So do you think do you think in a way that ruins a barista's job, or do you think that's not what they'd be called anymore?
Well, it ruins a barista's job, no. I think the approach and the knowledge you need to be that kind of A-grade barista these days will change from the procedure of tamping and brewing espresso to understandings of how to work with different coffees on a machine, how to work with temperature.
What does a coffeeless world look like?
I got asked this question years ago. They said to me, if you had to choose between tomatoes and coffee to have in the world or to have never existed, it was a hard call, because tomatoes are really great. You find them in a lot of foods. Coffee is also really great. So I don't really have an answer, but I'd be terribly fearful for both coffee and tomatoes to
I could live without tomatoes, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Without tomatoes?
If coffee was the other option.
Well, if you had a lot of Kenyans, and you started to incorporate more Kenyan coffee in cooking, then you could probably get away with a bolognese, like a Kenyan bolognese kind of thing.
Love it. Okay, so I've got some quick questions. Don't think too much. Espresso or filter?
Filter.
Piccolo or macchiato? V60 or Chemex?
V60.
Okay, got some yes or no ones. Fruit in a filter coffee? Like pieces of fruit?
No.
No? Not for you or not for anyone?
Look, this fusion thing crossing, like, it didn't work with music, I'd keep it out of coffee.
Soy milk in coffee, yes or no?
I'm going to offend people, so I just want to talk. I won't have an answer.
Food with coffee, can it be done?
Like coffee matching food. Yeah, absolutely.
And decaf, yes or no?
I've had decaf that shocked me in flavour.
I love that answer, it's good. Thanks so much for talking to us. I hope you enjoyed. For more coffee videos, click here to subscribe. And I think you should.